From the East Brunswick Jewish Center, I'm Rabbi Jeff Paivo. The same words are often used in Jewish tradition for very different purposes. Many times our sages have recycled well-known words from the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, for use in prayer, holiday rituals, or life cycle events in ways that were not the original context or the original purpose of those words. For example, Jews are familiar with the following passage. My father was a wandering Aramaean. He went down to Egypt and sojourned there, few in number, and there he became a nation great, strong, and numerous. The Egyptians mistreated us and afflicted us and placed hard work upon us. Then we cried out to the Lord, the God of our forefathers, and the Lord heard our voice and saw our affliction, our travail, our oppression. The Lord took us out of Egypt with a strong hand and an outstretched arm, with awesomeness and with signs and wonders. Now, if I were to ask you the source of those words, you would most likely say that they come from the Pesach Haggadah, and you would be right. On Passover, this is part of the Magid section, the passage which tells us the story of our origins as a nation. We recite the words at Seder in order to remember how our ancestors got to Egypt, were enslaved there, and eventually redeemed by God. But that is a later, secondary usage of that passage. The original source for these words is Parshat Ki Tavo, which we read this week. In the Torah, this is part of a declaration made by individuals who bring the first fruits of the season to the priesthood in Jerusalem as an offering to God. A farmer would bring a basket of produce, then make this declaration, and then leave the produce with the Kohen. We have to remember that at the time that Moses is telling these words to the people in the Torah, the Israelites have not yet entered Canaan. Like the rest of the Torah, this passage is prescriptive. It describes what will happen once the Israelites enter the land, conquer it, and begin farming it. The passage describes a future declaration of first fruits in a settled land. The purpose of the recitation of my father was a wandering Aramaean in the Torah was not to look back at the experience of the Exodus, but rather to look ahead to the future in which the redemption from bondage was completed, in a sense, by the generation that actually entered Canaan and fulfilled the destiny that God had promised to previous generations. And so the same words that the Torah provides for a future harvest in the land, we say as a means of looking back to the past. The Torah text is a script for a future farmer's word of thanks. The Haggadah is a script for reliving the Exodus of thousands of years ago. In that way, this is an example of sacred words that engage us in a type of time travel. As Moses anticipates a future in the land, and by extension a future that includes us, we look back to the time before that future existed, to the beginning of the story of Jacob and his family going down into Egypt. The two usages cross each other in time, them dreaming of us and us remembering them, linking us two together in a continuum of hope and recollection. Just as they imagined our lives, we recall theirs. In the same way that we are the fulfillment of their hopes, they are the source of our identity. As their generation and ours reach toward each other through the passage in Ki Tavo this week and through the Haggadah, we acknowledge those two generations' dependence upon one another and the gratitude that both feel toward the other. From all of us at the East Brunswick Jewish Center, Shabbat Shalom.